but the problem is that Sam's been complexifying issues for 20-year-olds for too long. And your job today, our job, is to complexify some other issues. What was the key to your transformation?
Well, it's not any one thing. It's a combination of things, of course. One is the acquisition of knowledge. Two, I met some old heads, some individuals that were older and wiser than I was, who became almost like holy men to me. Once the institutions began to open the doors to books, everything changed. Know thyself, which means what? Of course, I know who I am. I'm Irvin Moore. No, do you know who you are? All of us want to be blessed in one way or another. Isn't that true? All of us want to be blessed. And I learned through trial and error, through study, through talking with people, I learned that the surest way to be blessed is to be a blessing.
We have this way of just kind of throwing people away, disposable lives. And you commit a crime, we send you away. We don't spend many resources on what we would call rehabilitation of any sort. There's no sense. And the vast majority of people who go into prison are going to leave prison. So it doesn't, for us as a society, that philosophy, that way of thinking, where people are expendable, we put them in, we close the cell, they're done, we don't think about them. And then one day when their sentence is up, we let them out. But we haven't done anything to make them better people. And so when they come out, they're likely to be exactly who they were. But not always, because transformation happens.
Not always. In a lot of cases, because over 90+% of the people that are sent to prison return home, come to their communities. Even a person with a life sentence in 40+ other states has the possibility of parole. Pennsylvania is one of the states where that does not happen, but I'm here. So something occurs or can occur that will cause even a life sentence prisoner to see the outside world again.
What was the key to your transformation? Like what happened that led to you to say, I may never get out. It looks, I'm praying every day that I will not die in this place. But still, there's something in me that says I have to change and I have to be a different person.
Well, it's not any one thing. It's a combination of things, of course. One is the acquisition of knowledge. And remember, I knew everything in the world, in the cosmos. I knew all that I needed to know until I found out that I did not. Until I found out that what I knew was minuscule, was nothing compared to the knowledge that's in the world. Two, I met some old heads, some individuals that were older and wiser than I was, who were my mentors, who became my mentors, who became almost like holy men to me. Because, as Sam was saying, someone commits an act, a mistake, or is found guilty of a crime and is sent to prison, and for the most part is usually forgotten or is stereotyped and adjudged as a hopeless cause or no good, worthless.
Which is what they would have said about you.
Which was they did say about me, and so many of us. But I saw men walking the corridors every day that were both evil and some men who were saints, some men who were saintly, some men who were so wise, it's unimaginable.
And good.
And good. And good. And who looked at me and looked at the reservoir of young guys that were coming through the penitentiary at that time as a result of what was happening in the larger world, the Black Power movement and so much other things. And they looked at us not as prey to be preyed upon. They looked at us as their children, as their young brothers, as themselves. And they help guide us. Once the institutions begin to open the doors to books, everything changed. Everything changed. Even if it's a book coming from the mouths of a professor or an old head, it's still information, it's still knowledge, it's still history, it's still stories, it's still lore, it's still advice, still a direction. And all of this was coming from individuals that I saw walking amongst us every day. And these were angels, these were saints, these were seers. So something let me know that there's good, even in a place like that. And then there was the belief as well that I had control of who I was. Now, I knew who I was, but of course I learned soon that I didn't know me. And we were told by a philosopher, you guys probably know who this was, maybe 2,500 odd years ago, when someone said simply, know thyself. And you've heard this, of course, haven't you? Know thyself, which means what? Of course, I know who I am. I'm Irvin Moore. No, do you know who you are intrinsically? Do you know your strengths, your weaknesses, your frailties? Do you know the wealth of possibilities that can exist because of who you are? So I began to go about a process of trying to learn any and everything I could. And in so doing, I also learned that I have a responsibility as a human being, not as a black man, not as a man from Philadelphia, not as a member of the Black Revolutionary Army, but as a human being. I have a responsibility. And said, I believe in a higher power. I believe in a supreme being. I believe in someone or something that's larger than I am. Something or someone is incomprehensible to understand. I believe that there are powers that we just can't grasp. And I know that sounds kind of, you say, wait a minute, it's supposed to be a guy dealing with realism. And you believe in the supernatural? There are things that cannot be explained at this point in our growth and development as a species. So I don't mind being one of those kind of guys that believe in spirituality.
And
go ahead.
And you understood the need to give back in the way that the old heads gave back to you.
Well, what I meant when I said my responsibility as a human being, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. What is it? What is that responsibility? To leave good in your wake. To do good. All of us want to be blessed in one way or another. Isn't that true? All of us want to be blessed. And I learned through trial and error, through study, through talking with people, I learned that the surest way to be blessed is to be a blessing. To be a blessing. Yourself. To reach out and touch another life and to bless that life in whatever way you can. If you don't have money, you can't do it financially, but you could have a kind word, you could have a look, you can have compassion, empathy, you can have a smile, you can have words of wisdom, you can have advice, or however ways that you see fit to touch someone's life in a good kind of way.
So this is the redemption story for you. I mean, here's this person. Here you are. And following from what you're saying, you're really not that complicated. You made decisions to say, be a good Irvin, be a good human being, bless others, receive blessings from others, change the way I see other people, and things will happen. And so many people in the system saw this in you, right? Which is why throughout the system, I mean, I remember having a conversation with the superintendent at Rockview, I don't know, probably 13 years ago, saying, Irvin Moore needs to get out of here, you know? But this is part of it's such a simple story, but yet it's one that so many people have a hard time grabbing onto, even for themselves, you know? But here you are, right? And by the way, if you haven't recognized, or you haven't done the math, Irvin is 77, right? 77, like you're...
He reminds me of this constantly. Yet, he always tried to act as if he's the big brother.
Yeah.
And I say, Sam, I'm older than you. By a wide margin.
You're also wiser than me, and so, you know.
I wasn't going to say that. I was going to let you say that.
All right. So listen.